This was made in 2005, and I think it was my first good remix. It was definitely the one where I felt that it was I'd kind of really done something of worth, you know. I was a big fan, and I am a big fan of Franz Ferdinand, and there was definitely a sense of pressure, you know, when you're remixing the first single from a second record. There's a lot of attention on an artist, so I was kind of a little bit eager to make sure that I did something decent. And I remember when I first started it, whatever I was doing wasn't very good. I kind of made it sound a bit too. I don't know. It still sounded like an indie band, which wouldn't have been the problem for the fact that it felt like it was just I wasn't doing anything to it that warranted any kind of outside involvement or remixing. So I think I spent a few hours doing some stuff. I came back to the computer, and I just hated it. I hated what I'd done. So I think I was a bit peeved off, and I ended up just doing what I thought was quite drastic. I went back to the guitar stab parts, which happen later on in the track, and I just started chopping them up loads. And I just thought, well, I'm just gonna make something just really, really just aggressive and pounding, and as far away from the kind of floral disco-y thing that I'd been working on beforehand. And within about 30 minutes, I think I'd had the whole intro section and all the drum parts cut up for the entire track, pretty much. I knew that I wasn't going to use any of the original bass, and I wasn't going to use any vocals, because I wanted it to sound as robotic as possible, and those elements obviously were not kind of sympathetic to that. So I thought, well, I need to add some kind of bass line to this, which is gonna run all the way through. So I actually used two synths. I used the SH-101 and an ARP Axe, both together. Now, I don't think either of those synths were in tune, which is no surprise, but when put together, their lack of tuning kind of created some kind of weird internal and combined tuning, which is probably why the bass sounds like it sounds. But it was the same MIDI that was being fired to both, because if you listen to them on their own, either one, doesn't sound right. So I remember just writing that MIDI line in and firing it to both synths and controlling the envelopes on them so they would open up and close and stuff as the track progressed. And yeah, about half hour later, I think I'd had pretty much the whole track as it is. The middle section, the little wispy sound that comes in that misplays the melody from Do You Want To, was played in by hand, and I think I probably had like some kind of ambition for it to sound like something on that label Get Physical, which was a label releasing a lot of records around that time, 2005, that I was playing. So there's that element to it, which kind of tied it to it feeling, in my mind, contemporary to my DJ sets at that point. And obviously, around 2005, there was a big sort of movement with, rock and rave, I suppose. Not that was kind of deliberate, but it was, I definitely felt that if I was going to be marrying those elements, the live drums with synths or whatever it was, it kind of felt like I was doing it on terms which felt natural to me. And yeah, this mix was done really, really, really fast. The intro I ended up cutting down. It was even longer before, but it felt like it was one round too long. And when you kind of work with things like this, you need to take into account that it's going to be in a club where music and time moves much faster. So you need to have a different kind of internal clock running when you're making these decisions. But one of the loveliest things of all of these mixes is actually the fact that I remember going to see Franz and also seeing it on YouTube from them playing live and starting Do You Want To, like the remix rework sounds and starts, and that was a real big compliment because it really felt like, you know, the band would, you know, make a record, hand it to someone, in this case me, I'd do something to it and give it back to them, and it was kind of, there was something of worth in there for them to adapt or to be inspired by. So this was a really fulfilling mix to do,